type where the darkness began if you want to know what I did, because that's the day I learned just how far someone will go to take what's not theirs, and how deep you have to dig sometimes literally to hold on to what matters. "You're not allowed to dig a pond here," she said, standing on my family's ranch like she owned the Texas sun. HOA regulations forbid any modifications that impact the community aesthetic. That was her opener, the first words Constance Blackwell ever said to me. For 3 straight days, she patrolled the fence line with her phone, snapping photos, scribbling notes, and firing off warnings, each more official sounding than the last. "Submit a renovation plan within 48 hours, she demanded. I told her, "This pond dates back to 1900. This water's been nourishing the same land my ancestors bled to build." She just smirked, said this land isn't yours alone anymore, and got back in her car. 3 days after that, the streetlights flickered out. Irrigation froze and alarms started shrieking all over North Creek. But I didn't dig the pond that night. I used something she didn't know I had. And just like that, everything was swallowed by darkness. My name's Ezra Whitmore, and I'll tell you straight, sometimes the gentlest person is the most dangerous one in the room. My family's held this land since 1875, when my great-great-granddad bought 40 acres of Texas nothing for a pocket full of silver. 6 generations we've run cattle, raised wheat, lived by the rhythm of this earth. It was honest, hard living, until Constance Blackwell, HOA president, arrived in a BMW that cost more than my granddad's first house. It all started with the pond. I was digging it for Sarah, my late wife, the heart and soul of this ranch. The morning it started, I was on my knees under our old oak, the shovel trembling in my hands. That tree was Sarah's place. She'd lie there with a book, her auburn hair catching every slant of light. 18 months since cancer took her, and I still hear her whisper in the leaves, "I want a little pond right here so I can hear the water flowing when I can't hear my own voice anymore." I promised her that. And for the first time since she passed, I was strong enough to try. I'd been up since dawn, working by hand, just like Sarah taught me when she was studying environmental engineering. She always said, "Respect the earth." Ezra, she remembers everything. But peace doesn't last long when the wrong kind of neighbor moves in. 7:03 a.m. I hear gravel crunch and turn to see that BMW roll up. She steps out, red blazer, steel hair, yanked back clipboard in hand, like she's here to buy the place out from under me. She didn't ask my name, she just demanded it. "Are you the property owner?" Her voice carried like she was used to people jumping when she spoke. I got up slow, wiped my hands, and nodded. That's when my instincts kicked in, warning me she was trouble. She announced herself Constance Blackwell, North Creek Homeowners Association, and she needed to speak to me about serious violations. The way she said violations, you'd think I was cooking meth instead of digging a hole. I tried to explain, "Ma'am, this land's been ours since before any HOA was a gleam in some lawyer's eye. We're not part of your association." She smiled, all teeth and no warmth, and showed me a map on her tablet. Some new Texas law she claimed had pulled my land into their jurisdiction because we shared a fence with their development. Resolution 2024 TX447, she called it, and my ranch was now part of North Creek. She handed me a stack of paperwork as thick as a phone book telling me I had 48 hours to comply or face $2,000 a day penalties. I could barely speak for rage standing in the same dirt where Sarah and I were married 35 years ago. But see, what Constance didn't know was, I'm not just a grieving widower or an old ranch hand. I designed the power grid for 3 counties before I retired. For the last 12 years, I've gotten automated system reports every night, still have admin access, nobody ever shut off. That was my ace in the hole. She came back 48 hours later with 4 lawyers, a notary, and a guy with a camera. She thought she'd scare me into submission, but I'd spent those 2 days in my basement digging through my grandfather's files. What I found there changed everything. The original land grant from 1875 signed by the governor with a survey map that extended our property line further than I ever knew. When I showed those papers to her legal team, even her lead attorney's face went pale. Turns out federal grants trump any HOA rules or state laws passed a century later. But Constance, she didn't back down. She started recording a video claiming I was poisoning the water and endangering every child in North Creek. She posted that video before she even got to her car. By sundown, it had 75,000 views and 3,000 comments. Folks I'd known for decades started treating me like a criminal. Grocery stores lost my account, my mechanic wouldn't touch my truck, even the family doctor dropped me. For the first time since Sarah's funeral, I felt truly alone. But then I remembered what Sarah used to say: when the world turns on you, that's when you find out who you are. So I called Marcus Torres, an old friend from the Texas Grid Authority. I asked him to look into the North Creek substation, the one sitting on my land. Turns out that lease had expired 11 months ago. The power company had sent 17 renewal notices and nobody from the HOA bothered to reply. Suddenly I realized I had the legal right to shut off every watt of electricity to North Creek. I wasn't just some old man with a shovel. I was holding the keys to their kingdom. As I was piecing all this together, the story took a turn thanks to Maya Chen, an investigative reporter from the Austin Chronicle. She'd been looking into shady HOAs swallowing up Texas ranches. Her research showed North Creek was just the latest target in a string of hostile takeovers, all orchestrated through fake environmental concerns, legal loopholes, and shell companies. The goal: flip family land to developers for millions. She showed me documents tracing $347,000 in consulting fees to Constance, plus plans for an 800-unit luxury resort right on top of my pond in 6 neighboring ranches. All that drama set the stage for the big showdown. The next morning, Constance rolled up with cops, news vans, and a whole busload of angry residents. She got on a megaphone, called me a terrorist, accused me of endangering kids, waved a court order in my face, and demanded my arrest. But I just handed Officer Martinez, the same guy who dated my niece in high school, a signed lease termination from the Texas Power Authority. That's when the lights died. Not just my porch, but 847 homes, pools, gates, and alarms dead quiet, except for folks yelling at Constance and the hum of my own Tesla battery. That blackout. It turned the crowd against her. Angry residents who'd sweated in the dark started asking questions. Maya's live stream drew thousands, and with every new fact, bank records, signed contracts, the audio recording of Constance promising to deliver our land to developers, the tide turned. Finally, Constance broke down, confessed to everything in front of 500 neighbors and 25,000 live stream viewers. Cue the FBI. 8 black SUVs pulled up. Agents in tactical vests arrested Constance and several others for fraud, racketeering, and bribery. The crowd that came to lynch me ended up cheering when I restored their power. But the real ending, that came months later when the pond Sarah dreamed of finally filled with water. The community, freed from the HOA's grip, reorganized as Texas' first true cooperative. MIT sent grad students to study the water system. Sarah designed a natural filtration setup that saved every family $400 a month, brought wildlife back, and turned us into the first carbon-negative neighborhood in the state. And Constance. After prison, she wrote a letter owning up to everything. Our community even hired her back as legal coordinator, ensuring no one would ever pull those tricks again. Now every morning I sit by Sarah's pond, watching kids learn about real nature and listen to the water she wanted more than anything. Her system gave us clean water, clean air, and something rarer, peace. Here's the truth: sometimes you have to make a little darkness to bring back the light. That's what Sarah taught me. So if you've ever had to stand up to someone who thought they could walk all over you, tell your story below. Did Ezra go too far, or did he finally bring justice home? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories where good people fight back, stick around, because sometimes the quietest ones hold all the power.